I love my own made-up ideas, especially when it comes to my characters. And there might be some people out there who think that they have no creativity and imagination. I doubt that because I believe that people can do anything they put their mind into, as long as they work hard for it and have great perseverance and a growth mindset. Then they'll be able to eventually do it over time. That's what I did. Over time, I upgraded my ideas over the years, ever since the years of 2017 or 2018, and I upgraded over the years to have a more creative and imaginative mindset. And the secret to that is to keep focus on your main goal of what you want to get better at as well. And people might wonder, how do I come up with my own ideas when it comes to the future of being a writer? To a future of wanting to come up with my own characters for a story of being a writer. Well, that's what I'm going to talk about today. Today I am going to talk about top fictional character tips that might actually surprise you, that I actually have myself, that I've actually used, that might actually help you. Number one is that think about things that you love the most. The reason why I said that is because the reason why I said for you to think about things you love the most is because you really need to think in your mind what you love the most, like your favorite hobby, like art, science, or music, for example, or maybe like soccer or football or baseball or anything like that. All of that can be a great inspiration to you, especially when it comes to when you want to come up with a character that's supernatural, like a one that has a floating book, for example, floating around him or her, that's rather living or non-living. As an example. Once you come up with something or think about something you love the most, like fishing or anything like that, or engineers or other things that are rather supernatural or not supernatural, you put that idea into that character as well. And you think about a name they want to put into this as well. If you don't know what name to come up with this guy or girl, then you have to think closely. Think about what they love the most. Think about their personality as well. Think closely into about who they are and what makes them a person for who they are, and a name that can fit well into their personalities, personal character traits, their skills, and their supernatural abilities. These in their looks or who they are as a person in general as well. Once you think about that certain thing as well for this supernatural character, that's what I'm going to start with. As for example, tomorrow I'm going to start with gotta do a non-supernatural one that has skills, and skills only, not supernatural abilities. Once you come up with a supernatural ability, you can come up with or combine different ones into one ability that you have created, that is your original idea of your own abilities. For example, and if you want to come up with a Steve or Alex character idea, for example, and you don't know what to come up with yet, as well, that's not the original, that is your own unique variant of those ideas as well, not the original Steve or Alex. Yet you're gonna have to come up with sorry about that, my throat. You'll have to figure out what inspires you the most, what kind of abilities you love to see in movies, shows, roleplay series, in books, you name it, including video games in general, like stop it to the top of the bits. And think about if you want to put these abilities together and make this one have more than one ability, or combine and fuse all together into a tight squeeze, and boom, you can fuse that all together. For example, alchemy. He is a Steve character. He has a purple kind of redstone lantern body, pretty much, and he has a clock as a symbol on his chest, pretty much. His abilities are quite confusing right now. I'm trying to figure it out about him in a way. He was made up recently this year by me, pretty much. And he is a very unique character, pretty much. He was made out of the ability of imagination and sparkles and the galaxy and time itself combined all together into one, including the stars and the planets as well. They were fused all together to create a special new ability called the Chromatus. Chromatus is an ability that is actually quite unknown right now to this day. I'm trying to figure out what that ability does. I think it's like a goddish-like ability, pretty much. And that's what it takes to create an ability. And for another example, I come up with Spy Steve, for another example. And it doesn't have to be Steve or Alex related. It can also be a different character that's a different one. That's not really Steve and Alex related, or those who are actually Steve and Alex related, like long lost cousin blood relatives, like the Technicels, for example, as well. Those ones can be special to you. Whatever you want that fits you well, you can come up with just like that, snap. In a way, when it comes to your ideas, you're gonna have to think about what you love the most, as well. That can be perfect to be put into your character as well, and especially when it comes to personalities and personal character traits as well. When you think about what you love the most, it can be perfect to be put into a innocent individual, like a citizen in a kingdom, or as a person who's just trying to live their lives, like making money, or somewhere else trying to live out their lives, or like in a way of a hero, like Rainbow Steve, or from Rainbow Quest, or the Steve Saga, or Superman from the Justice League, for example. When you come up with something that you love the most, it can be put into rather an innocent individual or a hero, pretty much. And if you come up with something that's both a hateful thing and a loved thing, there might be a chance that that character might be a hero and then turn into a villain, or will be a villain in the start, but then turned into a hero. For example, the Elite Guard. The Elite Guard used to be like a bad guy who led a bunch of darkness into a Red Kingdom and Twisted Rainbow. But then he changed. He became a good guy once he started to realize what he was doing was wrong. For example of it, and he tried to save his whole entire universe, but then Saber, he freaking destroyed that universe. That's right. His ability, he destroyed that universe, and he used to be a good guy, and until then, he became a bad guy. And Illusion Steve and the Steve Saga universe explained that before, saying that he would become a villain in the future, but he was ignored. We thought he wasn't really serious about it until Saber became a bad guy in the future in Twisted Rainbow. Oh my god. I am never doubting a so-called villain again. Just saying. Because not everything meets the eye. Sometimes it might not be an evil monster that hates all good things deep down to the bone, like the trailers of the Steve Saga show series, roleplay series, and YouTube explained it. As well, number 2, as well, is put rather your personality or someone else's personality that you love or hate the most. Because the reason why that I said that is because you need to come up with a personality that makes a character special. Because the reason why you need that is because there's no way you can make a character that acts like a robot and talks like a robot, or in a way that's not really really makes them a special person individually and as themselves as well. Because the reason why I said that is because you need a personality. That's what makes you a human being, especially when it comes to a fictional character. The reason why we need personalities is because we need that to make us the ones that rather makes us hate the most hated person, or the most to love the person. If you put a personality that you love the most, that would practically make a hero or a grumpy person that's also good. Or, for example, like a nice, compassionate person, like Master Oogway from Kung Fu Panda, for example. He may seem like he's crazy, an old man that or should I say, crazy old turtle that doesn't know what he's talking about. He actually says the things that he says for a good reason. When he said once, "There are no accidents," that means there is a purpose to everything. And that is the case when it comes to Po himself. He was chosen to be the Kung Fu warrior, the Dragon Warrior, pretty much. At first, Master Shifu thought it was an accident. But then, when he realized that it was no accident, that he was chosen to become the Dragon Warrior, then he started to understand the bigger picture of what Master Oogway is trying to teach him. Master Oogway was trying to teach him to become a great teacher in a way that he understands, has empathy. Empathy means you have an understanding perspective. It's when you put your feet in someone else's shoes. Sympathy is when you feel a sense of sorrow, to feel bad for somebody else, or feel an emotion for somebody else. If you don't have that, then that'll make somebody a non-emotional person. That makes them heartless and careless, by the way. Either way. And the reason why we need either our personalities or other people's personalities is because we need to combine the personalities we love or hate the most. If we don't have personalities we love the most, we won't have citizens or villains or those who are grumpy or compassionate but also grumpy by one at a time. You know what I mean? If we don't come up with personalities we hate the most from us or other people, then we won't have villains. You hear what I'm trying to say? Because we won't have any villains and any kind of creativity of our own or someone else's that we love the most. Especially when it comes to William Afton. When Scott Cawthon came up with a personality he hated the most, such as a personality of being heartless and cold and a mad scientist in a way that of a person that not only is a heartless person in the end, after becoming a good person, but also kills others around them in a way that takes their lives, like William Afton, for example. If he didn't come up with that hated personality, William Afton wouldn't become the mass murderer he is today, and also because of the story behind why he became that way, because of his son dying because of the bite of 83, for example. Number 3, we need we need things from others or ourselves, like favorite food, favorite skills, or anything like that, or habits, in a way that makes them who they are. Say, habits, or like needed, favorite, or most hated things. Without that, the individuals themselves, the characters, won't become any special with anything like that. We need habits or something else that we want to put into these characters that are supernatural in a way that makes them who they are. For example, Spy Steve, he has a habit of having some sort of bad addiction to popcorn. That's right, popcorn, or an obsession with popcorn. And he's obsessed with lockpicking. That's right. Rather if he has his V. Clint personality on or no. He's always, whenever he has locks and sees them locked, he gets paranoid. Whenever that happens, he would lockpick it and be a perfect expert, just like V. Clint from the Spy Ninjas is. Whenever he goes to his Spy Ninja personality, he has the ability to shrink as well. When he goes to Chad's personality, he actually becomes taller or to his normal size. For example, in particular, he grows to have their same exact voices too, including the voices of others who they become close to or enemies with, who become part of their group or not become part of the group at all, or who is not part of the group, like Ali or Agent Peters / AKA Dane or Chef Crouton, for example. He likes the color red and blue, and whenever his personality gets shown into Spy Steve, he has a half red and half blue personality, in a way that gives him shades, never like a chef hat. Whenever that happens, he becomes rude, entitled sometimes, and has some sort of hatred towards Roblox. He doesn't really always have hatred towards Roblox or Minecraft. He also has a love interest. It's confusing. It's like a hate and love relationship between him and 2 certain video games. That's right. And he's also good at cooking when it comes to Chef Crouton, but he's also obsessed with perfection when it comes to cooking. Like Chef Crouton, for example, who is also known as Agent Peters or Dane, for example. That fits well into his rude personality side as well. The reason why we need certain things that makes a character who they are is because without them, they won't become special individuals that rather makes them most loved or most hated. For example, if we have a hero or innocent civilian who is a side character or the main protagonist who becomes a hero or a villain in the story, and if they don't have a personality or anything like that that makes them for who they are, that rather makes us love them the most and adore them the most or hate them the most, we won't really they won't really have a special personality that makes them who they are. Never, like, when it comes to my characters, I add personalities into them. I sometimes add bad habits that they have, which fits well to me because I have bad habits, they have bad habits, and one of them has a bad habit of brushing their teeth, for example, just like I do, in a way that it's not healthy for me, because if you brush your teeth for too long, it will give you some sort of sensitivity to your gums or to your teeth. That will make your teeth mostly sensitive to certain candies or sweets like chocolate or ice cream, for example. It's pretty much not good at all. Just saying this as an example, not to tell you guys what to do, if you guys have the same problem as me of having a bad habit to brushing your teeth for too long, please have a certain timer, like 1 minute or 2 minutes. Then that's it, because otherwise you're going to end up brushing your teeth for too long and giving yourself rather like a tooth or teeth sensitivity, or you'll end up ruining your gums. And that would not be good for you at all. Or the gums part might not be the case, but still. Those are 3 tips that I came up with myself to give you guys a great story. And number 4, when it comes to your ideas as well, write, or it says write, put, or think about what you know. The reason why is because you need to know things like education or your own, or who you are, or who someone else is. For example, if you want to put anything into a specific character, like Spy Steve, for example, you need to know who the individual of someone else or who you are, for example. If you don't know who those individuals are, then you can't put that into that character. You know why? It's because you won't be able to know who these people are, or who you are, for example, or won't know a certain type of education, like science, either way, or time itself, pretty much, like going back in time, or time traveling, or traveling from one universe to another. If you don't know these things, then you can't put that in a character unless if you start to learn yourself, and learn from things that teach you about it before you put that into a character. Because if you don't learn these things and put that into a character, along with their personalities and or maybe good or bad habits or things they hate and love the most, and things that they love the most, for example, then you won't be able to you know what I mean, know what these things are, and neither will your characters either. Without these kind of tips of learning your own education that puts them into your story or to your character, you won't be able to make a good story or a character either. Because what's the point of making, such as like a artist, for example, if you don't put a good tips of your own education of your artwork into a specific character, like an artist, for example, that's a supernatural artist or a non-supernatural artist, then that person won't be an artist at all. That person will be a person who will not have a good way, or not be good with their art, because they'll have no skill, and in a way because they have no education about it. I'm not saying this to say anything offensive about others. I'm saying this to teach you guys about the fact that you need to know certain things that you want to put into your characters, or to your stories, for example, or to your mythical creatures, like a Wendigo, for example. If you don't learn more about these things that you need to put into your characters, these characters won't know about this type of education. I'm sorry, because that'll be your education being placed into their brains, their made up brains. That's right. Your state of mind through theirs. I'm not kidding. That's why your education as well, when it comes to your ideas and what you know about the things that entertain you, or that help you the most when it comes to your surviving skills, like how to pay rent, or how to make money, or how to draw, or how to paint, for example, are very important when it comes to your characters. Because if you don't know what to put into your character for their skills or for their education, they won't be able to be experts of those certain things you want to put into your characters, into them, because you are the key to their success. I'm not kidding. You are the key to a character's success, depending on what you put into their story. When you put that into their story, it'll be your job as a narrator and a writer, to be in charge, as if you're like God or Jesus. Be in charge of your own creations throughout the world, towards humans and many other living beings, like animals, for example, like a panda or a fox or a raccoon, for example. But instead, you'll be in charge of your own ideas and your own fictional story, or non-fictional story, or stories that are based on true stories but that are fictional, you know what I mean? Or that are non-fictional. All of this needs to be combined with your education. I'm not kidding. Not only does it have to come from your heart and from your soul in a way that makes it special or someone else's, but it also has to be the education of you or someone else's. If you don't learn these specific types of things, then what's the point of putting that in there if you're not gonna know? Because if you don't know these things, then they won't know these things. You know what I mean? Because that's your education being put through their heads, giving them their own unique talents, unique specific educations as well. For example, the reason why some of my characters are very kind and compassionate is because they were actually created with my personality, with my own personal beliefs of what I believed in. For example, I don't believe in birth control. That's right, I don't believe in birth control, for example. Others do sometimes, but I don't believe it's right to use birth control, because basically you're taking the life of a child away. I'm not kidding here. That's why I don't believe in birth control, for example, here. Because if you don't put these things, because that's why these things are important, these characters won't know specifically of what they want to do with their lives. They won't even know what to do or how to do certain things that you want to put into them as their skills, personalities, or anything like that. It's very important for you to learn your education and learn who you are or who other people are. For example, what their true motives are. Because you never know if a wolf can be disguised in sheep's clothing, or if a sheep can be disguised in wolf's clothing, for example. Because not everything meets the eye. You have to learn. It's your responsibility to learn these things and put what you've learned into these characters. That's right. Because you're the main key to your character's success in your own story. According to your own success, if you become a main protagonist or an antagonist to your own story. Without these things, then your characters will pretty much not have their own success because of the fact that you won't know these things. You won't know who you are or who they are or who other people are that you want to put as pieces of their personalities into them with their permission. That's right. That's why it's so important for you to come up with your own personalities, your personal character traits, and what they know and what they're good at as their skills or as their skills as supernatural abilities, like being an artist, for example, as well. They won't even know what to do. They won't even know how to do the certain things that you want them to do. Because you're, like I said, you are the main key to their success in your own story, pretty much. And there you have it. There are 4 tips as well, but before I end things here, I'm going to give you a 5th tip. The 5th one says, things that you hate and despise the most. The reason why I said that is because when it comes to your villains, you'll have to at least put something that you don't agree with, like destruction or chaos or curse and despair, like the first curse, for example, or birth control or anything like that you don't really disagree or believe in, into your villains, then they won't be villains. Just saying. Because it's important to, if you want to become a villain yourself, or have a variant version of yourself, or a character of your own that's rather Steve or Alex related, or a player related character, or none of the above, that is supernatural or non-supernatural, that's a villain, you'll have to at least put what you don't believe in, like the things that you hate the most. Like, for example, I don't believe in destructions of anything or any world. In the first curse, he is pretty much selfish, not gonna lie. He curses others, he puts others through despair, and he destroys other people's lives. But me, I don't agree to that, pretty much. The person that created him puts what they don't agree with into these characters, pretty much. And that's how I was able to put my villains into place. That's what makes them so perfect in a non-perfect way for who they are. Because I put things that I don't agree with into them, like hurting others, or being rude to others, or being entitled, or being self-sufficient in a way that's selfish. If you don't put what you hate the most into these villains, then what's the point of not doing that if they won't be villains? If you do things if you put things in there that the main protagonist, as a hero or a citizen that becomes a hero, or a citizen that's not really a hero, for example, that they don't agree with, into their personality, including the ones that heroes don't really agree with, into a villain's personality, then they'll make a perfect villain that's a hero or a citizen that becomes a hero, that really actually becomes a hero, like I said, can be put together and go against the main villains, the antagonists. If you don't put that, then what's the point of doing that? Like I said, if the villains that you're trying to come up with won't actually be villains, they'll actually be whether citizens or good people or just average people in general. If you don't put in what you hate the most. Either way. So there you have it. There are 5 tips that I gave all of you guys, of how to come up with your own character ideas, and how to come up with a name of your own character ideas. Whether if they're inspired, or so-calledly inspired, or not. Each and every character you make up are your own unique character, whether if they're so-calledly inspired or not. And that's what makes them all unique in their own way. Whether somebody thinks that's the case or not. You shouldn't really think too much about what others think about you when it comes to your creativity and imagination. Because the ideas you come up with that are your own originals, like a Steve or Alex or none of the above, or a player, or none of those from the above, or not. If they are characters that are made out of something else, but in your own unique way, or not, you should always consider them as your own ideas, because they are your own unique ideas, no one else's. The ideas you come up with, whether they're so-called inspirations or not, they are still your ideas, whether somebody says so or not. If they think the opposite about that, then that's their problem, not yours. Because that's what I learned. I've learned that no matter what other people say and do to change, that my ideas are my own ideas, in fact, indeed. They are still my ideas no matter what. Whether somebody thinks that that's not true or if it is true. Because you shouldn't care about what other people think about you. Either way, in general. Because it's important for you to have great perseverance and a growth mindset. And when it comes to your mind, you can't let other people drag you down of what they think about you or how they feel about you in a bad, negative way, or their personal opinions in a bad way, and what they do to stop you in a bad way, like sabotaging, for example. Sabotaging is never a good thing. And when it comes to your ideas, always be careful with who you share your ideas with. That's what I've learned in the story. Well, in my own kind of story, as a true story in real life. In life, there will always be somebody who will try to take your ideas and take what you have that's yours and not theirs, and use it as their own and claim it as their own. That's what I've learned. I've learned that the hard way. That happened to me before. And I've learned to be careful with who I trust with my own creativity and imagination as well. I really do hope you guys enjoy this video of me sharing you 5 tips of how to come up with your own fictional characters that are supernatural and non-supernatural. If you guys enjoyed this video, then please make sure to defeat that like button or subscribe or turn on the notification button so that way you won't miss any video, anything video that I post as well. And if you guys want to be careful with who you share your ideas with, then please do as I said, be careful, and don't randomly just trust somebody, unless that's a friend or a family member that who you know personally in general, who will never do such things against you. Because I've learned that you need to be careful with both a family member or a friend, because you never know which person in general will come after you and will stab you in the back, like I said. Thank you guys so much for watching. I am your host, GG Girl of Rights, and I will see you in another anything video. Goodbye!